I could not chisel a smile off of that kid's face by just recognizing that he did truly try to help out the business, help out the department, really want to get ahead. And when I seen that, I got choked up, man. I had to walk away. I was like, you know what? I know I made that kid feel so good because he was just like, I thought I was going to get a super hug from him. Put it to you that way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another particularly festive episode here of the Collision Vision. As always, I'm your host, Cole Strandberg. Today, we're going to continue our Beyond the Surface Innovations in Automotive Refinishing series with a focus on one of the most critical aspects of a shop's success, building a strong paint team. Joining us to discuss that is John Melendez, owner of JDM Collision. He's a previous guest and industry influencer and a very good friend of mine. John has built a reputation for his leadership in the industry, his partnership and utilization of iCar, and his dedication to fostering the next generation of fantastic technicians. In this episode, we'll discuss John's approach to building a successful paint team, the impact of his recent hires, and how his efforts with industry associations are shaping the future of collision repair. Enjoy the show. This episode is brought to you by Thryv. Ready to hit the gas on growth? Meet Thryv, the do-it-all small business software that can save you over 20 hours a week. Attract customers, manage day-to-day tasks, and keep communication simple with one powerful tool made for your auto business. Rev up your revenue today and let Thryv save you time so you can get back to doing what you love. Visit thryv.com, that's THRYV.com, to schedule a demo today. John Melendez, thank you for joining us once again here on the Collision Vision.
And I'll tell you what, Cole, looking forward to this, man. It's just always a great time to have your company present here.
Dude, it's always a pleasure. I really appreciate you. And it's been an awesome thing getting to know you a little bit better, a lot better, really, since our first meeting here on the Collision Vision. Today, we're going to talk about something that I think you're an absolute professional at, and that's building a team and focusing on building that paint team. You have a lot of fun stuff going on in that realm and beyond, man. You're just all over the industry. There's articles left and right, speaking engagements. Super excited to talk to you. We're just going to open it up, though. Let's start with the big picture. Talk to me about why developing your team, and more recently, your paint team, is so critical to a shop's success.
Well, honestly, what that stems from is trying to get your shop up to date and having to acquire some good quality help that doesn't have any bad habits. And fortunately enough, with our recent expansion, which has put us 2.5 times the size that was a norm, has put us to the point where we need to get some quality key people in mind. And it's helping us even incorporate some new SOPs, and that we can grow the business as it's expanding and growing with the proper type of technician. And I felt that, due to the shortages that we've had over the years in the industry, is that, work with local schools and colleges, and just seeing that it's going to be important that we have the right type of nucleus put in place that's going to help the business grow with this recent expansion that we're at.
You have so much exciting things and movement happening, and you're appropriately getting a lot of publicity for it. I'd like to point out for anyone who's watching on video, this is being recorded at a time of year where the vast majority of people are off, not working super hard. They're mailing it in for 2025, and we're here getting it done, getting this podcast recorded. When I spoke with you in our pre-show call, you were literally under a car just making it happen. So the passion that you have for the industry certainly resonates. And with that, so does your kind of credit to your team and building your team publicly. What are some of the key traits and skills that you look for when hiring in your paint shop and beyond?
Well, Cole, like for instance, I've been doing some networking with the local schools and colleges and the tech schools, knowing that if you vet a person that has paid for an education, they're more receptive to wanting to get a return for themselves on their investment, and also couple that with what we're trying to do in the same retrospect. So I think those are some of the factors that is really a key to acquiring some good quality help, that they've invested in an education, not to be repetitive. I look at that as a starting point. And then, of course, sitting down and finding their personal characteristics. Do they truly have a passion for the industry? You could see it if you're talking to them and saying, I really want to do work on cars. I mean, yes, everybody wants to make a good living, but at the same time, knowing that when you take them and walk them through a new updated paint shop and you could see that glimmer in their eye, I think I found the right person. So that's the fun I've been having with lately is, going through and showing them what we're about, and then truly getting that good feeling from them. And honestly, I've been fortunate. I've been seeing a lot of individuals come in, applicants come in, and you get those that, are seasoned veterans. They want to run 100 miles per hour. Trying to be that niche business, Cole. I'm just looking for that right fit in which we're going to grow this business together. And I've turned to acquiring new help in my sense that has no bad habits, and we're going to grow in that sense. And I think that's going to be a real plus on how I actually choose that individual before we bring them on board for employment.
Something I've always appreciated about you is your kind of macro view of the industry, your willingness to play the long game and do some things that might not pay itself back immediately, but it really sets up whether it's your company or the industry for the future. And I think that's my understanding of your new hires. I'd love to hear a little bit about the profile of those folks, how you found them, and how they're playing into the culture you're building at JDM.
That makes perfectly good sense, Cole. It's not set out for just every single shop to be able to do the same thing. Fortunately enough, the growth is helping me be able to step out and grow the shop within. But at the same time, I have an established business that has a steady flow of work, that it doesn't affect the ability of us being able to produce. Now, our production is going to increase, in which also increasing with employees. And it's a slower process, but I feel that that's really important to go in that direction. Going out in local schools, some of the other things and associations that I belong to has helped us in that sense. But once again, just seeing and acquiring talent that's out there through some of these other schools has been a plus. And I think that in itself is going to help us grow our business and grow a new SOP plan, which I'm excited about. And I'm going to reach out to other industry professionals to help me in that sense, just to get a good gauge on giving a positive direction for these new kids coming in.
I love it. Now, down to the specifics. We almost had a couple of your technicians here join us today. The good news is they're in the shop getting it done. The level of work you have is tremendous. Who are your most recent hires? Where did you find them, and what are they doing for you?
Our first one, I was doing some work with ICAR, and I was at Lincoln Tech in Melrose Park, Illinois. And I was doing a career day on behalf of ICAR, and doing a lot of talking with a lot of the students that were there and the kids, and just having some fun. And one just come across and sat down. We had a conversation, and not realizing that this young man was literally right in our backyard, that he lives very close to the shop. And he was telling me he was just going to be getting out of school. And by the way, this January, that is Lamont Walls Jr., he's going to be with us a year. And that's where it stemmed from. When I was doing some volunteer work, that I was able to get this young man and bring him on board. And we're very proud to say we still have him with us, and he's growing. Then second, dealing with the local college in Chicago. Through Brandon Eckenrode with Thryv, I happened to get involved with some volunteer work, and I met one of the professors at Kennedy King College, and that has stemmed in hiring 2 additional technicians, and they were pretty much top tier with Ken, Professor McMillan's evaluation and how these kids are, and he says, John, I think they're going to be a great fit. And sure enough, so that was Diego Mears. He is going to be on board. He is on board. He's been with us now going on his 2nd month. Right out of the school, he came on board with us. And then we have a 3rd young man that's going to be starting the 2nd week of January. But fortunately enough, the timing on the 2 that are in the paint shop today are truly wanting to go into the paint field. They want to get more acclimated, and they want to paint cars, and they made that very clear. And fortunately enough, the last hire that I will be acquiring after the first of the year wants to go into full body. And that's a whole nother segment, which we'll talk about as far as, how excited this kid was walking into the new place. But the paint shop trying to get this thing into a right nucleus is trying to get the right type of kids that have the same vision and the same passion. And I have two young men that were doing it as a team effort, in which that is just fantastic on the learning paths that they're going through. And with our instructor, which was acquired from the Melrose Park school, that they suspended the program, and I was able to acquire the young lady as our paint team leader, but yet with instruction direction, which is like a perfect fit. Is like, I'm very fortunate to have it. So I'm happy in that sense, if that helps, not getting off the subject as far as the question is concerned. But I just get excited because I got an instructor that now also has the ability to train in other areas that is going to be vital to us. That if I can step in and have fun with the kids and show them a few things, and she could step out and go to the body side and show these guys how to do some plastic welding and some key repairs that she's very well rounded in. I'm looking forward to this new year in that sense.
How great, man. Just setting the team and the shop up for such great success in the future. And again, playing the long game. You mentioned, and we've talked about for pretty much the entirety of this conversation, your ability to attract and hire some of the next generation of technicians. For any shops looking who find that task daunting or they haven't had success in doing that, how would you suggest that a company makes itself attractive for young talent?
I think being a hands-on individual has given me an advantage. I think this younger generation today, not only are they very tech savvy, they do have the ability to utilize their hands and learn a skill. But I think the mentoring program is going to be a big part of it to retention. And that would be, for instance, myself. I enjoy being hands-on in the trenches, in the shop with our staff and assisting. And I'm seeing more of a reception from our new hirees that they enjoy the direction and not just tossing them out. And not saying that we're going to set them up for failure. It's just that being in on a day-to-day basis and communication, and then getting them proper direction, I think is going to give you a long-term employee here in the future, if that makes sense and helps answer that question, Cole.
Absolutely, man. It's a great perspective, and it's one I really appreciate. You've mentioned some of your new hires coming in with a pretty clear goal of where they would like to end up. How do you ensure these new hires have a path, whether they know what that path is going to be or not, as you look at developing your team?
The advantage of growing, they just happen to be in at the right time. And that itself entails that, look, we're going to need additional technicians to take us to the next level. And by having this team concept and then setting up a career path, which I'm sure we're going to talk about that here shortly, as far as how we're acquiring education for these kids on the level of where we're at today, is giving them that added security that I do have a chance to be that painter. I can be like our instructor, because it definitely warrants it. And that's the way that I'm selling them. I'm not selling them a false bill of goods saying, guys, I'm very fortunate that you're here, and I definitely see you within the year's time that you're going to be doing different tasks. And also telling the truth, as far as the paint shop produces, there are some incentives that's going to be here for you guys and reward you for good quality work that's going to be put out. And they know that entry-level position in which they're at right now, they're giving true tasks that makes them feel important. And then taking in consideration the little program that I put together, we're going to start off one young man by utilizing the new paint technology with an electronic camera, getting the camera, getting the formula, securing that, putting that information in there for the instructor to come in and pull that information out. He feels important. He knows he's going to do that from day in, day out. And having him do that repetitively is getting him very acclimated. And then another young man, he is in the masking portion of it. He's going to sit there and he's going to do this. He knows how important it is. Well, now for the new year, for the new month, they're going to be switching roles. I've given them each the opportunity to learn each other's jobs so they complement one another. And then in the sense that they have a bigger job, now that team effort's going to get that job done that much more efficiently. So therefore, we can keep a steady pace inside of the paint shop, so where once it starts hitting its incentives and where we're able to cover the expense of having this team put together, then there's going to be a reward monetarily on that side that we're going to give to them. So put it in layman's terms, Cole, having a carrot in front of them, but yet making them feel like they're responsible, I think is how you're going to grow a strong employee for a long time.
It seems so basic, but it is unique. It is, again, forward looking and not just about kind of getting it done today and having what you need to succeed today. It's a lot more and further along than that. You mentioned iCar a few times. We certainly talked about iCar at length here in our first conversation on the Collision Vision. I think a lot of our listeners are probably tremendously jealous of the fact that you have a team member who is a full-blown instructor. So some training is going to come naturally. But how does your relationship and partnership with iCar benefit training and development for your team?
You know what? That in itself, with me going through proper classes and continuing my education and staying as a complete structural technician, but yet I don't stop it there. I try to cover every other aspect that iCar has to offer. So therefore, it makes it so much easier for me to explain myself to our technicians. So therefore, they could understand before being understood as far as what I'm putting out as far as the curriculum. I cannot take credit for that. iCar has some very, very good programs together with the Academy entry level. The Academy entry level is going to go, and it's going to get started here after the first of the year. And it goes through different segments. And when I say the segments, Cole, you have the collision repair fundamentals. You're going to have the disassembly and assembly. You're going to have the reassemble. You're going to also have the aluminum repair and then prep for refinishing. And I want these entry-level technicians to go through every single aspect, even though these two in particular they want to be into paint exclusively. But they have to understand the whole repair concept. And this program that iCar has out is extremely beneficial and informative, to which they are going to have a good understanding of what the collision theory is, and then what I am looking for as an individual owner and how I want to maintain a good quality pace. And by being able to take these young kids and put them through this type of program, it helps make my job so much easier, because as I know from seeing what the program is about, I could then do some internal quizzing myself for the kids and just see if they're truly paying attention and they want to go through this direction, and they're very receptive. But to add to that, I have an oversized mix room, which I'll be sharing pictures with whether on LinkedIn or on social media pages, that this oversized mixed room, I've also set it up as a training center for the guys. I put a nice big 35-inch screen monitor on there that also is incorporated with their computer. They're going to be able to access their iCar classes. They're going to be able to do the classes within. If there's a little bit of lax time or waiting on something, we're going to sit them right in front of that inside that mixed room. It's very private, and at the same time, they've got their instructor's assistants if they had any questions when they're going through this type of class and this platform that we're trying to set up. And being right there and not intimidated by having to sit somewhere or somebody overlooking or just feeling scared. I think that's another plus that I just weirdly just decided I'm going to make this mixed room part of a classroom. And they love it. So it's just about complete, in which they can't wait to look. I've even bought them bar stools, so they could sit up a little bit higher, and the desks are mounted on the wall. And it just gives them that, hey, look, I'm inside of my own classroom. If they ever did any live, they're going to be in a very unique room that, put it to you this way, it's probably hard to come by, but I was just looking to try to make a very comfortable environment for them. And I think that's another plus that I've got in place for these guys.
Man, that is awesome. And as I mentioned, and for anyone who's listening to you right now or who knows you at all, you're a passionate person. So there are obvious business benefits from growing your team and building your team in this way, and from making it an attractive place to stay for the long term. But it also has to make you feel pretty good. So interested to know if there are any success stories that come to mind or examples of some of these young people just thriving in your shop. Was there anything that about brought a tear to your eye?
Yeah, I did have one instance in which Lamont, he's a very big-hearted young man, and he will do whatever he can just to try to make things happen. And Sam was extremely busy with doing another job, and we just happened to have a certain car, which it needed to get done. And not saying that it was an older model, but yet we still, regardless, treat every single job the same. Lamont took it upon himself to go ahead and he's going to sand down on his hood. He's going to feather it out. He's going to do a little bit of, chip filling, whatever it was. And the vehicle, it was at the stage it was getting ready to get primered. And I look back and I see that Lamont made the effort without even being told. So first of all, I'm admiring and I'm overseeing this. And then at one point of time, I heard his immediate instructor, or I should say his immediate, team leader made a point. Oh, well, we should have, this, and, we could have done this, but, it just, well, we'll get to that point. We'll show you later. And his face kind of fell down a little bit. Like, I picked up on it right away. Cool. I went around the corner. I was like, Lamont, I totally looked at this one segment of the car and how you did the repair, but I got to be honest with you. I got to give you an A for effort. This was just awesome that you took it upon yourself to do that. I proceeded to show him how to go back, feather it out. I said, you actually caused less work than what it was. I could not chisel a smile off of that kid's face by just recognizing that he did truly try to help out the business, help out the department, really want to get ahead. And when I seen that, I got choked up, man. I had to walk away. I was like, you know what? I know I made that kid feel so good because he was just like, I thought I was going to get a super hug from him. Put it to you that way. And those are the things that really, that makes my day, bud. It really does. And that was just one instance in which I felt that, it just by recognizing that he truly does have that passion, I really think I'm going to get a whole lot more out of him, and just from that one instance alone. If that kind of answers that question.
Oh, that's perfect, man. What a great story, and a great example of how fulfilling it is when you're doing this the right way. You're building teams, you're building careers, you're building support for families and future families. It's very, very cool. We talk essentially every conversation on the Collision Vision at some point comes around to the technician shortage. And I know we're talking primarily about how to build a paint team, but this is obviously applicable to any technicians. What are some of the biggest challenges you think shops are facing in finding and retaining great technicians?
Because the industry itself, it's not saying that it's difficult, but a lot of programs have been suspended over the years on the high school level. I think that really has had a direct hit, and especially with, like, for instance, being the ICAR chairman for Northwest Indiana, they suspended a program at the high school level at the tech school, which was bringing in kids from the surrounding area in Lake County, Indiana, in which they were probably pulling from about 5 or 6 schools. I mean, they still do it on the mechanical side. But to reference the collision side, I've seen things like this happen in which these programs have been suspended or lack of attendance, and that's been tough. I think that for the shops that are out there is to try to utilize some of the new programs that are out there with the entry level positions with ICAR. They might find a young man that might be into a certain field, but yet explain to them that this is a great field to be into, and there is some good positive direction and a way where you eventually will do and make a good living. It's just a matter of how they're going to sell it. But I think getting more involved, Cole, with your high schools and then looking at the tech schools, and if some of these owners would take in consideration some advisory councils or reach out, Brandon Eckenrode from CREF, he could set them up and saying, hey, look, in your local area, we have a school that's here, and CREF might even have a plan to give them some donations or some grants. And if the shop owners will take a turn and start going in that direction and getting more involved on trying to bring in these entry level kids, is going to help build their platform in their own business. And I think that's probably going to be the best direction that anybody in this sense, and with the shortages that we're experiencing, they can try to get ahead. I mean, if that doesn't get off the question, but I get excited because that's the direction that I have taken over the years with the involvement that I have. And I think that's so important that this is where saying that, and in layman's terms, that barrel has dried up. We need to find another.
Well said. And I think there's a conception, and I don't say misconception necessarily, but a conception that young people today are not the same that young people once were from a work ethic standpoint, from a pride in their work standpoint. Also, when you're hiring young people, egos can get in the way. Competition can potentially inhibit some really good performance. How do you manage your team dynamics from that perspective and ensure that you have that strong collaborative work environment with everyone singing Kumbaya?
What I've found to be the secret to that, because of this younger generation, they're very tech savvy, is sharing the skills of utilizing the computer technology that the paint shop has in it today. And when I say that, from looking at formulas, utilizing some of these new three-dimensional reading cameras, getting more in depth in that, and then showing them online how to read colors, how to look at colors, and sharing that with each of the technicians. I'm going to start another program here, which is going to be, you're going to start doing test panels that see who can do and achieve the best color match. I think incorporating the techie side on where this younger generation is going to bring out the true abilities for them to go ahead and be a hands-on type individual, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense. Absolutely. And you mentioned a few different times throughout our conversation some of these technologies. What role does technology play in getting these guys ready? And furthermore, what technologies are we talking about and what are you excited about technologically in our space?
Multiple answers.
Bring them.
Start off on the paint side of it. Like I was saying, not to be repetitive with the three-dimensional reading, just being able to identify, and then being able to take them and put them in classes, utilizing your jobber and the paint manufacturer itself, and then getting these guys somewhat to the point where they will be complemented once we put them into this type of program, and explaining that there is a lot more that comes with this. I think is going to be a good way to help build a solid foundation. But be true to your word when you're going to come out and set direction and give them something different. Yes, our business in certain areas, it's a lot of repetitiveness that makes things better or makes a technician better. But if you change it up, I'm seeing that, not saying that there's a lack of attention, but by making it different and exciting is going to help build that platform. Second, being well equipped. For instance, the second young man that is going to be coming from Kennedy King College starting after the first of the year, I was explaining to him on how electronic measuring is taking place, the new robotic system that we have in which it can really get a good dimension as far as how bad the vehicle has been compromised from direct and indirect damage. And the first thing that comes to mind, he goes, I got to turn on a computer. I says, yes, you do. And we walked him through it. And this kid was so intrigued that having the electronic portion of this incorporated with the day-to-day operation on like in a blueprinting process, that's how I was able to sell this young man to come on board, saying, you're going to start off on the identification, disassembly, assembling, but it's going to be very important that you learn how to measure that vehicle so you understand what has to be repaired. Having the updated shop, Cole, has been a big selling point for me to acquire some of these kids that are very tech savvy and truly do have the ability to fix a car, but putting the right type of tool in their hand, I think is going to help me solidify me having a strong team in the future.
The perception of collision is changing, and it seems like it needs to change even more. This industry and the role of the technician is totally different than it was a decade ago, call it.
Yes.
And it can be flashy, techy, cool. And I think we're starting to see the results of that attracting the new generation of technicians. And you're certainly doing a good job of casting it in that light. You're also one of the biggest evangelists of iCar in the industry. I mean, you sing its praises. The relationship you have with those guys is incredible. We've talked about how you utilize their services from a shop level. Talk to me a little bit about what you know of them doing on the macro level for the industry.
The advanced training modules that they're continuously upgrading, they are going back to the dated material and they're taking that out. But at the same time, they are reaching out to shop owners, trying to hear what their needs are. They're looking into manufacturers, which manufacturers more and more are jumping on board with them. So they're acquiring more information. They're staying on the cutting edge because of the complexity of the cars that are being built. They have to understand certain platforms are going to require a zero tolerance because of the advanced driver assisted systems that are in place, that there's no room for, well, this is a millimeter or two off, them days are gone. So with them being able to give us that information and continuing to update their curriculum, in which it's going to help not only an entry level individual, but somebody like myself. I mean, I'm continuing the education for that reason, because we need this to go ahead and make sure that we're doing proper safe repairs. And I rely on them exclusively, because they're acquiring this information, and not exclusive in the sense that we still are pulling all manufacturer recommendations and procedures. And ICAR emphasizes that very, very strongly, that, we're setting up a platform, we're giving you direction, we're trying to set it up to you'll understand the concept of what collision theory and repair processing is and repair planning, but ultimately go back to what the manufacturer is saying. We also have that at our fingertips with being in specializing in with the General Motors platform. Okay. It makes our job much easier because we are able to pull this information down. But let's say that we didn't, we can go to the RTS program with ICAR. You can go in and you can pull up different procedures or information that's been put forth by them. So taking what they have, coupling it with an OE certification and access, it just gives you a stronger edge on making sure that you are getting the right type of information to assure a good quality, safe repair. So that's where I rely on them in that sense, Cole. But this new entry level program and the collision careers, I mean, internally, they have turned this thing around drastically to where I never expected it to go to this level. Now we're going to start seeing more kids get into these programs that are available. I mean, your MSOs are doing it, your consolidators are doing it. And we all know that the single shop operator in some regard is going to be short-lived, depending on how aggressive they get on either being that niche business or coupling themselves with a bigger company in the future. But if they want to survive, I think ICAR is going to be their best direction to reassure themselves that they are going to be properly trained.
Love it, man. Awesome recap there. And again, appreciate you being such a good evangelist for the industry, for the next generation of technicians. I think that's awesome. I want to bring it back to the paint team conversation we started with and kind of put a bow on that, as is the spirit of at the time of this recording.
Right.
What advice would you give to the shops who listen about your story of developing your paint team, who are having trouble kind of doing that? Where should they start? How should they approach it, kind of from beginning to end? What's the secret sauce?
When doing that, I would take advantage of their actual, the manufacturer of the product itself and their paint jobber. Considering we pay such an absorbent amount for our material today, a lot of these companies do have some toolboxes that there's information there to help them. I think that an existing shop that wants to put a polish or get that bow out and let's get it on our paint team is try to utilize the information that's out there to be product specific will help you build a stronger paint team and incorporate maybe some better repair processing for your lead painter. And they are also changing up and new products, different type of products, maybe a more production type product, clears, or a different tint that's going to enhance a color match even better. A lot of shops don't take advantage of what's there. I have, in that sense, with the manufacturer of the paint line that I use, and I'm religiously going to California for training through Axel Nobel with the instructor that's out in Orange County, Orange, California, and that's where I acquire more additional skills to where I could help make it that much more easier for our staff at hand, understanding the product. And I think that's where it's going to stem from, to build a strong paint team where that actual shop is not going to incur any additional expense, if that makes sense.
Total sense, man. That's awesome. We mentioned ICAR. You're also extraordinarily involved with various associations across the country and certainly across your territory. What do you have going on there? Any words of wisdom as it relates to utilizing these associations to improve your business and your team?
It's huge, Cole. This past June, I was appointed as a board of directors for the Alliance of the Automotive Service Providers for the state of Illinois. and very proud to get involved with our executive director, Julie Lombardo. And also, I got to put a plug out to Bob Gottfried from Erie LaSalle. I met them and they kind of put me under their wing. And next thing you know, they brought me in their office and you're on board, John. So flattered on that. Second, to relate to your question, is I've been appointed the chair for the education for the association for the state level. So I'm going to be reaching out and getting some help from ICAR directly. I plan on putting some of the stuff that I'm incorporating now that I'm going to try to help put a platform together in which that's going to help other shops. I'm working directly after the first of the year, putting a charter school together on a high school level in the north side of Chicago, a Humboldt Park area, which the less fortunate kids, I'm going to help them, give them a chance. And some of these programs that I'm going to try to help and maybe put up a nice SOP in place in which I could share with other shop owners and the association, and with Brandon, they're giving me assistance with this to see it take off.
Love it, man. Again, so active. It's such an inspiration and should be to everyone in this industry what you're doing to improve not only your business, but the industry as a whole. Really appreciate all of that every day. We've talked a lot about the industry. We've talked a lot about JDM, but talk to me about the future of JDM Collision. How do you see that looking? What has happened here over the last 12 months? You've made some major moves. What's the future?
The future is to continue with a good, solid reputation based on quality. We are growing the business with a lot of dealer networking. That has been a plus. And I think that alone, coupled with the new equipments and the upgrades that we've done in place, that we're going to be able to continue through this fight. And of course, with the single shop operators facing the challenges with your MSOs or the consolidators, that I just want to be that business which is going to be recognized where the consumer has a choice, that we truly are one that's going to continue to base it on quality. And I think that's more of a major factor with this and the growth and the survival of what I've built over the years and to continue. I just really, and then of course, with getting involved with the schools and then acquiring new talent, I'm going to be able to get involved with maybe some co-op type training. I mean, that's going to help solidify the continued growth with my business as being a pillar in the industry and recognized. So those are the things that I feel that are going to help this company of mine survive and be able to continue in the future.
Thrive into the future, my friend. Good things ahead. You've been so generous with your time as always. For those seeking some of that generosity with your time, where can people get in touch?
Well, personal email is john@jdmcollision.com. Also through the association, we have our own link in which they can download that app for the Alliance of Service Providers of Illinois. That is huge because with this new appointment that I have with education, this is going to be on a different level in which it's going to help shops through the Illinois area, whether up north, south, which we plan on doing some more things once we have a good, strong platform in place. We'd like to share that. And of course, we're going to reach out to our members at first, but at the same time, this association is also growing with me being a part of that. And I'm looking forward to being able to at least instill some programs that they can help acquire this future talent. I think the reward that being able to get to that point is going to be strong and make us stronger, that's going to help shops. So by that, reaching out that way through, not to be repetitive, at john@jdmcollision.com, or I'm on LinkedIn. You'll see us there. I'm going to be posting a lot of new stuff there real soon as far as that new paint room, which is also their little training center. And then, of course, we're going to start showing some stuff with the new kids utilizing new equipment. And if guys have any questions, they can reach out there also as well.
So cool, man. I will be sure to include some of those links and your email in the show notes to make that easy on folks. And personally, look forward to seeing you in February in Chicago at the AASPI show, which in large part, thanks to you, I'll be speaking at. Really looking forward to that. Should be a fun time. John, really appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for joining us again here on the Collision Vision.
Thank you, Cole, and Merry Christmas, bud.
You too. That is all for today's episode of the Collision Vision. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with John Melendez about the importance of building a strong paint team and fostering the next generation of talent in collision repair. John shared fantastic insights about hiring, training, and the role of industry partnerships in shaping a shop's success. Take heed. If you found today's episode helpful and are enjoying the Collision Vision, be sure to give us a follow wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube, where the Collision Vision lives in video form. We'd also appreciate a review and a share of this episode with your network to help spread the word about innovations in the collision repair industry. On behalf of the Autobody News team and myself, thank you for coming along for the ride.